Expectations. Everyone has expectations. More often than not, we find ourselves disappointed by them when faced with reality. Rykard expected to devour the gods and become one himself. Yura expected Eleonora to be saved by him. Morgott expected to slay a foul Tarnished and stay a king. And I expected to enter the Erd Tree upon arrival. But expectations tend to leave you disappointed. My journey is hard-fought and full of regret. Dreams shattered and friends lost. My mind is scattered. My future is sealed by impenetrable thorns, and the only way through is to burn them. I must head to the mountaintops of the giants to burn the tree. But doubts plague me. Is this what I want to do? Or am I doing what I believe I have to? Of course, this is for a better future. Ronnie's future. But these doubts resonate in tune with something in the city. Almost as if it is calling to my fears. The sensation burns the back of my mind and leaves an unscratchable itch that I must find the source. I travel through the capital, following this heat. Back down into the city, I chase the sensation. I drop down to the rubble of homes, and the heat swells. As the intensity increases, I find a well and jump into it. I land in a puddle of water with a splash as I find that I am in a sewer system. The heat calms to a gentle, constant tingle, staying just enough to keep me focused on my task. There was a ladder I could climb back out of the well, but the sensation drives my curiosity to what is calling for me. I see an iron gate and approach. I push my way through the iron gate and through a small tunnel to find a ledge with the ladder guiding me farther underground. I take the ladder and find I am now in the sewers proper, as stones guide the water in channels. The stench of death and defecation burns my nostrils. I trudge through the waters, down a hallway, and come to a pitch-black tunnel. I light my lantern and discover piles of bodies and giant rats scurrying around them. I cut my way through the vermin and come to a wooden door at the end. I enter the door and find that I am in a massive underground structure. I stand on a ledge that looks down into the area below. Torn cloths hang from ropes across the openings above. Stone-bricked walls stretch the length of the space. Water travels down the pathways below from the drainage above. And wandering these passages are the noble-born omen that wander aimlessly through their home. This is the underground sewer system where the rich lock away their unlucky children who were born with cursed blood. I see a gate on the far side of the room, and I head for it. I descend the ladder in front of me, and as I approach the bottom, I am ambushed by two omen. They strike me as I dismount the ladder, but I make swift work of them and continue farther into the room. I strike down a third omen further in. As I approach the gate, I notice a grate removed from the floor. Seeing this as the only passage, I drop into it. I land in a splash and look to see a sewer tunnel filled with scurrying rats. Broken bones lie strung about, and bodies pile at the foot of the walls. Traveling down this tunnel, My boots get soaked and my nose burns. I feel pity for the omen that were left down here to age. The nobles truly were cruel to leave their newborns to grow in such a tragic way. It would be better to be struck down than live in such filth. A rat bursts out of a crate in an ambush, and a few more guard the path ahead. I strike them down, and as the last one falls still, an opening catches my eye. Into this tunnel and curve to the left to see slugs made from the flesh of the decayed. They cover the walls and ceiling on the path ahead. One falls from the ceiling into a hole below it. Racing past these slugs and vaulting over the hole, I continue further into the tunnels. After some time, I come to a split in the path. Go down a slope into a dark tunnel to the left, or go right through a barred entrance that is missing its door. The heat pulses when I look at the path to the right, as if to guide me towards this path. The heat tingles, almost as a pain, but nothing quite so sharp. I must follow the heat and find the source. To the right it is. A slug leaps out of a tunnel to the right to ambush me, and I strike down the slugs that group together, then continue further in. The tunnel slopes down and shows an exit. It opens to a room where water gathers as a drainage channel. An omen, covered completely in thorns, leaps down from a ladder at the end of the room to attack. I strike it down as another omen spews a golden flame from the top of the ladder. It then leaps down, and we slash back and forth until it drops still. Looking back to the top of the ladder, a third omen slowly walks into the room. It spews gold flame as it falls into the room. This final omen is struck down, leaving the passage clear. Ascending the ladder, I come to a hall that has a door across from mine. Entering the door, I come to a broken staircase in a massive, open, circular room. Looking up, I can see the blinding light from the sky above. But looking down, all I see is darkness far below, and another part of the winding staircase just below me. Falling onto it, I follow the curved stairs down. It ends with a ledge and two bodies, but an opening to the right leads farther in. The hallway takes a sharp turn left, leading to another hallway. This one is filled with shambling corpses covered in rotting flesh. The stench grows stronger, to the point of an almost crippling nature. But the heat demands recognition. Traversing this hallway, I slay the corpses. A few walking flowers crawl towards me and are slayed as well. The hall ends with a set of wooden doors that lead to an open tunnel with a flower at the top of a staircase. I slay it and descend the stairs. Nearing the bottom, a couple of flowers crawl out of a pile of bodies and defecation that are used to fertilize their growth. As they are cut down, I see a doorway in the wall below the stairs and make my way in. These tunnels twist and turn until they open to a large room filled with mud, water, and dung. In the middle of the room is an omen standing still. It stands in the way of a ladder, so I slay it, then climb the ladder. At the top is a balcony made from poorly strung together pieces of wood, and a stone doorway leads to the right. Walking through the door, the balcony continues into a bridge. To the left is a pipe that leads up and around a corner. Taking out a few stone gargoyles, I follow this path. It ends at a wall, but below is another platform. Falling onto it and defeating more gargoyles, I enter a stone doorway and onto a wooden balcony that looks down onto the room where the omen stood. A pipe stretches across the room, and an opening can be seen in the top. I jump into the top of the pipe, landing in a pile of bones. I traverse the tunnels, twisting and turning, until they come to a rat. Slaying the rat reveals a hole in the pipe. Dropping into it, my shoulder is grabbed from behind as a man stabs me in the back, then shoves me to the ground. Standing up, I strike him down in a single swipe, then continue through the tunnel. The tunnel turns, then slopes down and reveals an opening with a ladder leading down. Descending the ladder leads to a room full of jars, mud, bodies, bones, and dung. The stench is unbearable here. An opening to the right leads to an elevator cage. I enter the elevator to try to escape the scent, and it starts to descend. The smell burns my nostrils as my eyes weep tears of pain. The smell somehow continues to grow stronger as the elevator descends. It takes every part of my will to not end it all here, to escape the scent. But the fire demands my presence. The elevator descends deep down and comes to a stop. It stops at the bottom of the massive open circular room. The floor is stained a putrid brown as water, sludge, bodies, bones, and defecation coat the floor. The heat in my mind roars as a ferocious flame. I must be getting close to the source now. There is a doorway on the far wall that has 2 torches lighting it. The scent strangles me as I drown in the smell, struggling to make my way to the opening. I enter the opening and find a staircase leading down. With tears stinging my eyes, I begin to descend. The staircase opens to a room with statues of skeletons in robes, holding lanterns hanging over another staircase leading down. As I descend, the smell begins to fade, but the scent of death lingers. At the bottom of the stairs stands a doorway with 2 statues standing to either side. Entering the doorway, I enter what appears to be a chapel. A faded and torn red rug with golden tassels guides a path forward towards an altar on the other side. Rows of benches line the side of this path, and piles of bones lie near them. The roots of the Erd tree hang from the ceiling above as they protrude from the dirt. I follow the rug towards the altar. Right as I am about to pass the first bench, a red cloud emits on the path ahead. The red smoke clears to reveal a towering omen covered by shadow standing ahead of me. It turns to reveal that it wields a trident in its right hand. It approaches me, and the light from my lantern casts upon its face to reveal horns protruding from all over its face. It wears black robes with red ribbon draped across it, and golden ornamentation on the shoulder. It wields a mighty gold trident with silver spikes. It attacks at me with a slam from overhead that shatters the ground as I block the attack. My guard breaks and I stagger. I recover and go to strike. As I do, the omen slashes at me, leaving red claw marks glowing in the air. The marks burn and explode with a red flame, knocking me to the ground. I roll away to recover, and the omen reaches behind it with its hand glowing red. It strikes forward with its hand, and the strike erupts in an explosion of red flame, leaving behind a blood mist in the air, which disperses. He then swings his trident, and I dodge the attack, shattering a bench as I do. I duck an attack as I slash back at him, using Morgoth's cane, and a trail of red slashes the air, which explodes into blood flame. He stabs his trident down into me from above as the flame disperses. I recover and dodge the following attack. Sprinting at the omen, I jump as he reaches above him into a blood swirl of energy. I come down with a crash as I attack the omen, and as I do, he throws blood flame that he pulled from the energy. It travels over my head, landing in a line of fire on the ground a distance behind. I swing my sword cane, and as I do, the omen swings his trident. He misses me as I slash his side. I go for a follow-up, and he strikes me across the face with his trident. I roll away as his return slash flies over my head. I rush in and swipe across his side as he slashes the air. The explosion knocks me down before I can attack a second time. I roll under his trident as he stabs forward and strike him in the side. He stumbles and falls to his knees. I rush to his face and slam my sword into it. Then I pull back farther to get more strength and swing with harder impact. The omen flies backwards, and as he stands up, I go for another swing. I slash across him, and as I do, he lifts his hand and brings it down to pull a blood flame raining down from above in a shower of red. I push through the burning pain and slash a second time. The attack misses, striking the ground next to him, and I run to avoid the falling blood rain and roll to avoid the next incoming attack. I roll under the next attack and get struck as I try to avoid the following. I roll away to recover and back up as he pulls blood rain from the sky. He then goes to slam his trident down, and I misjudge the timing, being crushed under the blade. I roll to recover, then again to avoid an incoming attack. Then I go for a slash as the omen does the same. He strikes me faster than I can him, and I roll away to recover. I strengthen my will as I hear the heat in my mind calling. I must do better. I have to be better. I slash the omen, and he strikes me back. I swipe across his side and strike again as he pulls his trident out of the ground. I get 2 more strikes in as he reaches back, then punches forward with a blood flame eruption, knocking me to the ground. He swings and misses as he aims for a standing target. I stand up and, using the same pose that Mohg once used on me, grab the blade of the sword to pull it back farther, lighting the blade in blood flame. I rush to slash across the omen with a trail of red that erupts and follow with another that erupts again. He swings as I do, missing me and destroying a column. He then swings again and strikes me in the side, sending me flying. I roll to gain some distance, and he throws blood flame at me from across the church. I roll to avoid, but roll into the flames. In one last effort, I sprint at the omen, leap into the air, and bring my blade crashing down. The omen reels back, reaching to the sky as it turns to a golden dust. A golden dust. The only time that has happened is when I fought illusions conjured by Mohg. And if that is true, then this was only an illusion. If that was an illusion, did Mohg make it? Or did someone else? Either way, why was it down here? What was it guarding? The cathedral seems empty. But the heat in my mind guides me towards the altar. The altar is empty, just covered in candles. The heat screams for me to find it. I strike the altar in frustration and am shocked as it begins to lower, revealing a passageway hidden behind it. What dark secret could they possibly need to hide all this way deep below the earth, guarded by an illusion and hidden behind an altar? The scent of decay rushes out of this passage as death lingers here. But the flame beams in my mind to follow the path. I begin to walk down this hallway and notice at the end is a body. It holds a bowstring and an instrument lies next to it. I turn the corner to find an opening and hundreds of these bodies holding the same instruments. They all lie here in poses of pain and anguish, their bodies shriveled as if they had starved to death long before they died. These people suffered a great pain. These people were the traveling merchants known as the Great Caravan. Long ago, before the time of the Shattering, there existed a great caravan of merchants who traveled the land trading treasures to those whom wished to purchase them. One day, a man claimed the caravan committed a great heresy against the Golden Order. The caravan denied this claim, as they only wished to peddle their goods and committed no transgressions. This man was well trusted in the Golden Order, so his word was believed over the word of the caravan who did not follow the Golden Order. This led to the caravan being forced deep underground in the sewer system below the capital and locked behind an altar in a forbidden church. Here in this prison, the caravan anguished in torment as they starved and began to sing a curse of despair against the Golden Order. This called to an outer will, guiding it to the lands between. The man who accused the caravan of heresy could only laugh hysterically, as all of these events occurred the way he planned them. I walk past these bodies and notice a wooden beam that stretches across a chasm below. I walk onto the beam and look down to see other beams and platforms below. As I travel down, I see many floors filled with bodies of these merchants. I fall to the next platform, and I slip. I fall a great distance, and fear grips my heart. I land with a thud as I stand back up. Somehow, there was no pain from the fall, and the scent of decay is completely gone. The air is calm, and only has the scent of stale air. which is incredible compared to the journey here. I look forward, and at the end of this hall, there is a large stone door that glows with an orange hue. The flame has gone down to a gentle tickle again, and it feels as if it is coming from this door. I slowly begin to approach the door, and the details become more clear. I can see that this stone is seared, burned by an orange flame that left ripples in the stone as it scorched its surface. I approach this door, the tickle flaring with anticipation. I reach out to touch the door. I must know what this is.
Agony bursts my mind as a wave of sweltering heat sets my mind ablaze. The pain is unbearable as I feel my skull is going to burst open, releasing my mind. Visions flood in my mind. Visions of my lost comrades with their bodies burning in the yellow flame. I see my foes melting with the blaze, erasing all of the pain they have caused the world. I see the great golden tree set ablaze with a yellow flame. I see my body covered in flames. But the flesh isn't melting away. I see the world eviscerated by this heat, leaving only ash to give the world a rebirth. But all I feel is agony, reiterative, and sorrow. It hurts so much. I can't take this heat.
Everything goes black. Awake to find myself back in the middle of the room. I stand up, and I can see the orange glow from the door across the room. I don't know what is behind that door, but those images and emotions are burned into my soul. I don't know what is behind that door, but I understand what it is trying to give me. I do not know what is behind that door, but I will not allow this world to suffer that fate. I don't care how many people have suffered so far. That fate is far worse, even if it has the possibility of bringing a better future. But at the back of my mind, I know the truth. This fate is the worst for me, and me alone. I would suffer the most. I would feel all of the agonies of the world to give it the release it deserves. I don't want that pain. Instead, I will follow Ronnie, and I will make her a god. She'll be able to fix this world, because she is a demigod. I am only a foul Tarnished, on my way to the mountain tops of the giants. I exit the sewers back into the capital, and make my way to a wooden elevator which leads me up to a stone bridge. This stone bridge leads to a stone elevator, which takes me down. At the bottom, I exit the room to see dead trees and a fog of snow covering all vision of the path ahead. I hop on Torrent, and we race across this long stone path. At the end of this path, I begin to approach the grand lift. As I do, a large stone gargoyle covered in a black wax lands in front of me, guarding the path forward. After a back and forth, I break the gargoyle and continue up the stairs to the lift. I make my way to the lift and raise the medallion given to me by Melina. When I do, 2 large stone statues' eyes glow red and they turn to face forward. Then, the grand lift begins to rise. It comes to a stop high above at a mountainous path covered in snow. I follow this path to a grace and sit at it. When I rise, I notice a figure standing nearby. This figure looks just like Yura? But Yura is dead. That can't be Yura. Can it? I speak with the figure, and he says to me,
"Finally, we meet the Tarnished, who would be Lord. Oh my. Why the long face? I fear that you were previously acquainted with this vessel. Well, that is most unfortunate, for he is dead. As for his flesh, he gave it to me. Shabriri, I hope you can make your peace with that. You are about to sacrifice something precious, the life of a fair maiden, that you would toss into the fiery forge, only so that you may be Lord. What a horrible thing to ponder. Your ascendancy requires her sacrifice, whether she wishes it or not. But how would the Lord, crowned so, be looked upon, chosen, tarnished, and would-be Lord? Dare to tread the path of true rigor, spare the poor girl, and singe your own flesh in her stead. If you are prepared to show resolve and attain lordship through righteous hardship, then heed the words of I, Shabriri, chosen, tarnished, and would-be Lord. Descend into the depths far below the Erdtree capital. Seek audience with the 3 fingers and the flame of frenzy. If you inherit the flame of frenzy, your flesh will serve as kindling, and the girl can be spared, setting you on the righteous path of lordship, the path of the Lord of Chaos. Burn the Erdtree to the ground and incinerate all that divides and distinguishes. Ah, may chaos take the world. May chaos take the world!
Long ago, there was a man who made communication with an outer god. This god stood in direct opposition of the Golden Order, to destroy order and create chaos. The god, however, could not take manifestation in our world. At least, not yet. It required a great sacrifice before it could take a physical form. The man understood and took to the task. He made accusations of heresy from the great caravan to the Golden Order. Trusting him from his word, they forced the caravan underground to suffer and die. In their agony, they sang a curse of despair, and through their pain, the 3 fingers took shape. The Golden Order discovered the truth of the man's lies. In punishment, they gouged out his eyes, leaving only empty sockets. The lack of sight brought the man closer to the 3 fingers, only guided by their will. In time, his eyes grew back as 2 yellow grapes. This man's malevolence was so strong that his will took form as a spirit, and once he died, gained the ability to possess a fallen body. In this case, Yura's body. This man was known as Shabriri, the most reviled man in all of history. Hatred clouds my vision as I see a man possessing Yura's body and telling me to give in to the pain I suffered. I lash out, striking Shabriri with my sword. As I attack him, he tells me that he was not expecting rejection, and that if I do not wish for lordship, then I am of no use. I slay him, and as he falls to the ground, he tells me that Shabriri is chaos incarnate, and that he cannot die. I fall to my knees in despair. Why did it have to be Yura? Had he not been through enough pain? Why make him suffer even in death? Yet, what he said struck true in me. Melina has to burn for Ranni's fate to become real. Is it possible that I could burn in her place? Would it be cruel and unjust of me to let her sacrifice herself when I could do it instead and save her? Should I allow anyone else to die when I could sacrifice myself in their place? The heat tingles in my mind, and the vision of me burning without my flesh falling apart flashes in my head. I have seen this in the vision, but I remember the pain. No, this is a lie. A trick by the man who stole my friend's body. I won't fall for it. It's just a trick. A trick. I must continue for Ranni. I must. I stand back up, and I summon Torrent, the spiritual steed that Melina graced me with. We ride the snow-torn land, the cold stinging my eyes as we gallop. The lands between is often quite warm, and the Badlands were always hot. My body is not used to this frost. Shivering as we ride, we come to a great stone bridge. This bridge stretches the length atop a wall of stones. A far fall awaits if I am to misstep. I begin to ride across the stone bridge. As I ride, I notice a great stone golem off in the distance, knocking a massive arrow. It pulls back, and I fall to a lower part of the bridge just as he releases. The arrow impacts the bridge, shattering stone. Torrent rushes in a gale to cross the rest of the bridge, and after making it safely across, we strike down the golem. A well-positioned golem to guard the only path into the mountains. Its force strong enough to knock any who may approach off from the bridge. I then hop back on Torrent, and we continue our ride. The snow gently falls as I travel across the snowy landscape. A large stone disc embedded in the ground catches my eye. As I approach, I notice that a smaller stone circle in the middle glows with a blue hue. I touch the circle, and the light fades from the sky as it drains to a pitch black. A magical barrier encircles this stone disc. It appears that I have found an Everjail, a magical prison used to trap those ne'er-do-wells that have committed a great crime and are too dangerous to be locked in a regular prison. The word Everjail means eternal jail. In these jails, the prisoner is trapped alone in the dark, a place where they never age and time is non-existent, a place of eternal suffering and loneliness for their crimes. If these are prisons for the worst people, then that begs the question, who is in this prison? A rift of deep blue energy on the ground catches my attention, and I begin my approach. As I near it, a man appears in a black fog above it. The man's armor is rusty, and his black scarf is tattered and torn. His armor is dense, as if the metal was melted by a large hand. He wields a spear in his right hand. The air around him is calm, yet ferocious and chaotic. A heat pulses in my mind, and it seems to resonate in perfect frequency with the aura surrounding the man. The aura of frenzied flame. I recognize this man. His name was Vike, and he was the only Tarnished to ever come close to becoming the Elden Lord. After the shattering, the Tarnished were once again blessed with grace. and began to slowly return to the lands between. Among these first Tarnished was a knight named Vike. Vike was an impressive warrior and stood out amongst the Tarnished. At some point, Vike joined the ancient dragon cult of Leyndell, and his actions were so impressive that he gained the respect and favor of the leader of the dragon cult, ancient dragon Lanciax. Lanciax taught Vike the power of the ancient dragons, and Vike gained the ability to harness red lightning. He was so talented that he even created a new spell where he could infuse his body and weapon with red lightning to be used in battle. Vike then went on the journey to become the Elden Lord. With the help of his maiden, Vike made it all the way to the mountaintops of the giants, so that he may burn away the thorns of the Erd Tree. No other Tarnished before or since had ever made it this close, but Vike met a man on this mountain. The man told Vike that the only way to become the Elden Lord is to burn his maiden's body. Surely, Vike would not be so cruel and unrighteous. He told Vike that his maiden could be saved if only Vike were to travel below the capital and gain the power of the Three Fingers. Vike, heartbroken, did not want his maiden to burn. So he traveled to the capital, and the fingers burned Vike's armor. From here, Vike was supposed to burn his body and become the Elden Lord. But before he could, he was somehow captured and thrown in an Everjail to forever suffer for the sin of giving into chaos. A perfect parallel to the journey I have faced so far. Here is where Vike sits, suffering endlessly. But I won't be Vike. I will be the Elden Lord, and I will make Ranni a god. I only have to let my maiden burn. It seems the only way out of this jail, though, is to fight. Vike raises his hand and yellow lightning shoots from his hand into the sky. Static erupts around me as I am struck by the lightning. Vike stabs at me and I roll away. Vike sprints at me and jumps to stab down, striking me with his pike. I wildly slash as Vike backs out of my range. On my fourth slash, I make contact before he can attack. He rolls out of the way of my next attack and sprints at me. I slash him across the chest with an uppercut as he gets into range. He rolls out of the way of my next attack, and as he comes out of the roll, he tries to summon red lightning. I slash him before he can, and he backsteps to get out of range of the following attack. As he successfully calls the red lightning, I take pose and slash with an uppercut across his chest, which now sparks with the red lightning. I slash him again, and as I slash a third time, he rolls out of the way and also avoids the next swipe. He stands up a distance away, and I rush to meet him. As I take stance to attack, Vike leaps into the air with a burst of wind which staggers me, and stabs his lightning spear down on me from above. I roll from the ground to stand up, and Vike stabs me with the spear again. I roll to avoid the next stab and slash across Vike's chest with an uppercut, then follow up with 3 consecutive slashes that make impact. On a fourth slash, Vike rolls to avoid and get some distance. He then leaps into the air once again, staggering me, and skewers me from above. I roll away to recover, and Vike leaps into the air as he draws 2 great forks of red lightning into his hands. He slams them into the ground one after another, and each impact sends out waves of red lightning that shock the field. The lightning shocks me, and I stumble back to heal. Vike then lifts his hand and shoots yellow lightning into the sky. Static builds around me, and I am struck as an array of lightning shocks the field. I roll to avoid any other impacts and take stance for an attack as Vike sprints at me. As he comes into range, I strike with an uppercut. He rolls to evade the next 2 attacks. I dodge his next stab, then take stance. As I rush to attack, Vike's attack makes contact before mine, and I stagger back. I roll to avoid the next attack and rush at him with an upward stab, which makes contact with his helmet, knocking him back. In the pause, I make a second slash and cut him again. He avoids the next 2 attacks. He goes to heal, but finds his flask empty, then desperately stabs at me, but is too far out of range. I begin to take stance, and Vike rolls towards me. As he comes out of his roll, I slash and catch him as he stands, then follow up with a flurry of slashes. They make contact, and he rolls out of the way of the last attack to swipe across my side. Then he rolls to get distance from me, and I do the same. Vike sprints at me, and as he does, I take a large slash and an uppercut, and it strikes him across the chest. This blow finishes Vike, and he turns to a white dust. I feel a kinship with this tarnished soldier, and I am sorry that I had to slay him. As the dust disperses, the black sky begins to once again emit light, and the barrier is gone. Vike gave into madness to protect his maiden. Was that truly such a terrible crime? I notice his spear on the ground and pick it up. My eyes burn with immense pain as my head pulses. The same pain from below the capital echoes in this weapon. I drop the weapon, and the pain stops. I want to leave this weapon behind, but something tells me to take it. I send it to my chest in the round table hold for safekeeping, and continue my journey. Torrent and I continue our journey, trudging through the snow. The icy winds have my fingers numb as I grip tightly to the reins. We travel for some time, the snow piercing my flesh, and I need some place to take refuge from the cold to try to regain some heat. I spot an old broken church in the distance. It doesn't have a roof, but it could at least block the winds. I notice something red in front of the church, and I dismount Torrent to continue the approach on foot. As I get closer, a figure emerges from the red puddle. This figure takes on the shape of Okina, a warrior who fought alongside me in the Radon festival. He begins to sprint at me, and I can feel the presence in the air. Okina is another bloody finger, just like Eleonora, the one who slayed Yura. Okina was once a proud swordsman from the land of reeds. His name translates to Old Man. This nickname came from the wooden mask that he wears. This mask is carved to appear as an old man baring his teeth. Okina was a strong warrior who had many disciples. These disciples all became strong, proud swordsmen who fought to seek a proper death. It is said that Okina sharpened his mind to the point that he was able to rise to a higher plane. In that place, there was only him, his katana, and his mastery of it. Eventually, Mohg, the Lord of Blood, met Okina. They fought a ferocious battle, and Mohg was impressed. When Mohg felt Okina's sword and madness upon his flesh, he had a proposal. He offered Okina the life of a demon whose thirst would never go unsated. Okina accepted this offer, and with the boon of blood granted to him, he became a demon of a swordsman. From there, he served the Mohgwyn dynasty, the same cult that indoctrinated Eleonora. He became the only swordsman to use a wakizashi in his left hand and his newly cursed, full-sized katana in his right hand. Okina hunts for a worthy fight that may finally give him a proper death. He has slain countless foes, but now he faces me. I will grant him a worthy death, if only to get revenge for the pain the Mohgwyn dynasty inflicted on Yura. Okina sprints towards me, and I match pace to come to this clash. Our blades sing the song of battle as we slash back and forth, trading blows. Each strike from his blade burns my flesh, and I understand that this energy is the same as what the omen that I fought in the sewers used. Okina's sword is empowered with blood. He wields a blood-flame katana. He fights like a true master of his craft, a demon of war. But I fight in an act of determination. I have my sights on higher horizons, and I will not be stopped by a bloody finger. I take stance, and with one last upward slash, Okina falls in a red dust, leaving behind only his blood-red blade. I go to lift the sword, and as I grip the handle, my blood begins to boil, and my emotions are all replaced with a yearning for war. Everything I have done up to this point has been for others. But what about me? What about what I want? I want to slay all those who stand in my way. I want to be the Elden Lord. I want to claim the Elden Ring, and no god will stand in my way. I'll slay anyone who tries. The Erdtree, the Giants, Queen America, the Mohgwyn dynasty, I drop the blade as fear grips my heart. This blade corrupted my emotions. I was about to say Melina, but I would never slay Melina, or as Is that what I am choosing to do by using her to burn the Erd Tree? Am I slaying her, even if it isn't my hand that's doing it? Even if she's the one deciding to do it? Even if it's her choice? I've wasted enough time, and I must continue my journey. But the thoughts echo as I travel. The snowy winds continue to whip, and after some time of riding, I come to a castle. 2 banners hang next to the entrance gate, with the standard of an eclipse. I enter the main courtyard to see 2 white lions with blades strapped to their arms. I take out these lions and continue farther into this castle. As I traverse, I fight birds with swords in their talons, wolves that stand guard, and ghost soldiers that patrol the halls. At the end of my travel, I come to an entrance covered in a golden fog. I enter the fog and find myself in a courtyard, looking at a veteran general in red armor with a great white fur cape draped across his back. The general's right leg has been replaced with a metal blade as if it were a prosthetic limb. As I approach, he waves a red flag and slams it into the ground. When he does, 2 ghost soldiers are summoned to attack me. As the soldiers start to approach me, the captain waves his flag again, and the 2 knights are empowered to fight harder. As I fight the 2 summoned knights, the general stays out of it, only buffing his summoned allies. I slay the 2 knights, and the general waves his flag in a whirl around him. This creates a frosty gale around him, and he finishes by stabbing his flag into the ground. When he does, lightning strikes him, and his prosthetic leg becomes empowered by light. Then, in a burst of tornado-like wind, he leaps into the air and brandishes his prosthetic like a great talon covered in lightning energy. He strikes down at me from above with his talon, as I dodge, then follow up with a few slashes. He uses his flag like a halberd, and his prosthetic like a sword as we slash back and forth in a tug-of-war of blades. With one final upward slash, the commander falls to his knees and explodes into white dust. After he is defeated, I continue up the stairs, and then an elevator, to find myself at the top of the castle. Laying at the edge of the roof is half of a halig tree medallion. An understanding washes over me as I realize that this medallion is the other half of the medallion given to me some time ago by old Albus and the village of the Albinarchs. Now I have the other half. I can use this medallion to ride the lift to some unknown location. My curiosity beacons me to discover this secret. I need to return to the lift and discover this medallion's purpose. I return to the lift that I used to get to the mountains and lift the newly formed medallion. Once again, the lift activates. As the lift comes to a stop, I find myself in an underground catacomb, and I begin to make my way through it. I fight Shadowmen, Land Octopus, and Giant Land Octopus as I make my way through this catacomb. I find an exit, and as I approach, I notice there is nothing but white outside. I come to the door, and cold air instantly pierces my bones as the cold snow from the blizzard outside rushes past my body. Walking outside, I find that I am snowblind from the blizzard. I summon Torrent, and together we travel into the storm to try to find what secrets are hidden on the other side. We race for some time through this blizzard, my eyes burning as the wind whips my tear ducts. The blizzard shrouds everything to where all I can see is the path below us. But even through this, Torrent gallops with intent. I am lost and cannot see where we are going. But Torrent has not lost hope and continues with pride. He has been my rock in this journey. I could never have made it this far without him. My trusty steed. No matter where I go, I will always be grateful for his service and the friendship he has offered me. I say aloud to him, "Thank you, Torrent, for always being the strong one." He neighs in response. The blizzard begins to clear as we come to a grace. Here, the winds do not whip anymore, but the snow still blocks the distance. Though I cannot see that far, I feel something in the distance. I feel it boiling in my blood. I begin to head in the direction of this feeling. After some time, I come to a transport stone standing by itself on a cliffside. The stone is covered and surrounded by blood. This blood makes my blood boil the same way Okina's katana did. I wonder if this transport stone is used to travel to the gathering place of the cult of the Mohg dynasty. I must put a stop to this cult before they can hurt anyone else the way they tried to hurt me and successfully hurt Yura. I touch the stone, and the light fades. When I can see again, I now find myself in a cave system below the earth. The only light here is cast from my torch. I make my way through this long cave tunnel and find myself coming to a stop at the top of a cliff looking into the distance at a massive temple covered in red flames. From here, I can feel the power. That temple must be where I will find the leader of this cult. I will make my way there. I follow a path to the left, which leads down the cliff face to the ground below. I see a grace nearby, and I sit to recover my strength from this journey. I stand and summon Torrent so that I may reach this temple with haste. I ride down the sloped cliff that is covered in albinarix, which I race past. This path leads to a large lake made purely from blood. The blood splashes as Torrent gallops at a full pace through the liquid. We rush through the lake and come to stairs made from an old temple. I dismount Torrent and continue on foot from here. Through this temple, I find more stairs leading up. The path ahead has hundreds of shambling corpses covered in blood-red flesh. I strike one down, and it bursts into a cloud of blood. Standing in the mist creates a curse, which builds until the blood in one's veins burst. Being careful to avoid this, I make my way up the cliff, clearing these corpses as I go. This leads me to a temple entrance where I find a large group of these corpses on their knees praising the temple. I enter the temple to find it is completely dark. I light my lantern and continue farther in. I travel through this dark rocky temple and exit to a stone path ahead. The path curves to the right and up a set of stairs. The path stops at a large stone elevator. I step onto it, and it begins to make its slow ascent. At the top, I can see into a massive temple, and at the far end of it, there appears to be a cocoon of some sort, sitting in a pelvis bone. The cocoon is split down the middle, and a hand reaches from the cocoon straight into the air.
Dearest Mikola, you must abide alone a while. Welcome, honored guest, to the birthplace of our dynasty.
The arm falls to the point to the ground. Blood pours from this hand and gathers into a puddle. When the puddle stops pouring, a figure begins to rise from it. The figure rests its head on the hand and says, "Dearest Mikola, you must abide alone a while." It then lets go of the hand and says, "Welcome, honored guests," as it turns to reveal that it is the omen from the sewers. It then shouts, "To the birthplace of our dynasty," revealing that this is the leader of the Mohg dynasty that has plagued my journey. That means that this omen The leader of this cult is the twin brother of Omen King Morgott. This is Mohg, the Lord of Blood. Mohg grew with his twin brother Morgott in the sewers below the capital. When the twins met the formless mother, Mohg embraced the gifts offered to him and gained the ability to set his blood aflame. This led to Mohg creating powerful blood flame magic. After the shattering, Mohg went a separate way from his brother. Somewhere along this path, Mohg started the Mohgwyn dynasty and became the Lord of Blood. He began to recruit followers and corrupt them with his blood so that they would fight for him. These were the Bloody Fingers. At some point during this time, Miquella the Kind, Queen Marika's son, embedded himself within his Halig tree in an attempt to shed the disease that he was afflicted with. After this occurred, Melania, the sister and protector of Miquella, had gone to Caelid and ended up in a conflict with Radahn. In this vulnerable and unguarded state, Mohg seized the opportunity to abduct Miquella. Miquella, like Ranni, was an Empyrean, and so had the potential to become a god. Mohg intended to raise Miquella to godhood so that he may rule at his side as consort and take the role of a monarch. After abducting Miquella, Mohg hibernated with him in a cocoon and had his followers render offerings of blood, drenching its chamber in order to facilitate Miquella's awakening. No matter how much of Miquella's bloody bedchamber Mohg tried to share, he would receive no response. This is where he stayed until the disturbance of a foul Tarnished. Now, I have come to get revenge for what he has done to Eleonora and the pain inflicted upon Yura. I will be their avenger. As I walk down the path ahead, Mohg slowly starts to descend the stairs that he stands at the top of. As he gets closer, I break into a sprint to close the distance. Once I reach Mohg, I roll to avoid as he brings down his large trident in a slam. I follow up with 3 slashes from my dagger into Mohg's back. He swipes with his trident and I roll under it as it whooshes over my head. I follow up with 2 slashes and a stab from my sword as he swings his trident down, smacking me across the face. He then slashes with his left hand, leaving a tear of red claw marks in the air as I dodge to avoid. The marks burst into blood flame while I am a safe distance away. I then leap into the air as I send out a wave of golden holy energy from my dagger. The wave impacts Mohg's shoulder, bursting in a holy explosion. Mohg then stabs his trident into the sky, and blood rains around him as he exclaims, "Tres!" and a red ring appears around my body. He then stabs his hand into the sky and pulls out a handful of blood, which he tosses at me in a wave of blood flame, and I roll under the wave to avoid the flame. Mohg then swings his trident in a large arc, and I roll under it as he brings it over my head. I come out of the roll with a large slash from my golden holy blade. Mohg slaps me with the trident before my attack finishes and sends me ragdolling across the floor. I roll to recover and avoid as Mohg tears open the sky to pour blood down like a shower around him. He then brings his trident down from overhead and smashes me to the ground with a mighty crash. I roll to recover and slash across his chest just as a swipe flies over my head from the trident. I try to roll to gain distance, but Mohg catches me with a slam from his trident. I roll toward him to recover and slash twice across his chest. Mohg reaches back and claws across the air, leaving blood-red scars as I roll and avoid the slash. The marks explode as I am a safe distance away. Mohg then swipes his trident across the ground, but I am just out of range of the attack. I sprint at Mohg and jump into the air, bringing my sword down with a cut as I land. Mohg then brings his trident down with a slam, and I roll under the impact and slash him across his back. I land a second slash, and then roll to dodge a slash of Mohg's bloody claws. I roll to avoid the explosion and get behind Mohg. He reaches into the sky and pulls down a shower of blood flame. I slash him twice, then roll away after I am burned by the blood. Mohg then stabs his trident into the sky in a shower of blood and proclaims, "Duo!" and a second red ring encircles me. I take this pause to extend my blade and slash him with a strong attack. The impact staggers Mohg, and he falls to his knees. I sprint at Mohg and in his weakened state, stab into his chest with my blade. As I remove it, I pull with a force in an arc. The force removes the blade and sends Mohg launched backwards across the floor. As he stands up, he strikes me across the face with his trident. Then, as he stabs into the ground, I roll away. With some distance between us, I leap into the air and send a wave of golden energy from my dagger. The wave explodes on Mohg's chest as he brings his trident down towards me. I land just in time to roll out of the way of the impact. I then charge my blade, extending its length, and strike Mohg just as he pulls a shower of blood flame from the sky. I roll and avoid the flames as he stabs his trident into the sky, proclaiming Unus! And a third red ring encircles me. Mohg then grabs his trident with both hands and holds his trident in front of his face as red energy bursts from him like a domain expansion. Everything is completely red as Mohg stabs his spear into the sky, exclaiming, Nihil! My blood bursts from my body in an explosion as I take great pain, and Mohg appears to be healed from this act. I desperately heal myself, and Mohg stabs his trident into the air once again, exclaiming, Nihil! And my blood bursts once again. He thrusts the trident one last time, exclaiming, Nihil! And as my blood bursts, two large black feathered wings burst from Mohg's back as black feathers flutter to the ground. I heal as the red fades and Mohg tears his trident out from the heavens. The trident now burns red with blood flame heat as I strike Mohg 4 times across his back. He leaps into the air, flying away as he avoids my 5th strike and shoves his hand into the sky, tearing blood from the heavens and spraying blood flame in a wave across the ground. The flame sets me ablaze, and I roll to put the fire out. As I recover, Mohg flies towards me and goes for a slash with his trident. The blood-red streak floats behind him as I dodge under the strike. He lands in an earth-shaking crash as he spins on impact to look at me. I leap into the air, golden energy covering my blade, and Mohg tears blood from the sky with his hand. He throws the blood, and it makes impact with me just as the golden energy wave launches towards him from my dagger. The wave makes impact with him as I land and the blood flame splattered across the floor. I roll out of the flame and see Mohg leap into the air holding his blood flame trident aloft. I roll and avoid as Mohg crashes his great trident down in a splash of blood. Mohg then comes at me with another overhead slam, and I roll to avoid the trident, but it catches me, smashing me into the ground. I stand up and slash Mohg twice with my dagger, then roll out of the way as Mohg tears a shower of blood rain from the aether. He then tears blood into his hand and strikes with a claw that explodes as I roll out of range. In the distraction of the explosion, Mohg brings his trident upwards with a swipe. Just as the flames disperse, the swipe makes contact with my chest, sending me flying backwards. I roll forward and slash 3 times, but Mohg slowly steps back, each step taking him slightly farther out of my range. He then tears blood from the sky and sprays it across the earth as I roll to avoid. I then leap into the air, my dagger alight with golden energy, just barely leaping over a swipe from Mohg's bloody trident. The golden wave strikes him, and he slams me with the trident just as I land on the ground, sending me flying into the flames burning the floor. Mohg throws a wave of blood flame and I roll forward to avoid and close the distance between us. I then sprint at Mohg and leap into the air, and at the same time he stretches back for a downward strike. My blade slashes across him and his strike misses as I land. I then roll behind him and slash across his back. He turns and claws at me. I avoid the slash, but the explosion knocks me to the ground. I then roll away as he pulls a blood shower from the sky. I extend my blade for a slash, and Mohg leaps into the air, taking flight to avoid and pulls showers of blood from the sky as he throws a wave of blood towards me. The flame burns me, and I roll to put it out as he flies towards me, dive-bombing his prey. I roll under his slash as he lands with a crash. He swings his trident in an upwards cut, and I dodge through the blood to close distance as I avoid his strike. He then skewers the ground and I avoid the attack. I slash him once and the trident explodes, knocking me to the ground. I roll away to recover and land in blood flame, causing my blood to burst and setting me ablaze. I roll out of the flames as I see Mohg throwing a splatter of blood flame from the sky. The flame lands, setting me ablaze once again. I roll out of the flames and notice Mohg preparing to strike towards me. I roll avoiding his swipe and sprint to attack him. As I approach, he swipes at me again, which I avoid. I manage to slash across him, and he returns the blow. I roll to gain distance and take stance, extending my blade's length and power. Mohg reaches back and begins to swipe towards me in a wide arc. My blade makes contact with him at the same time his strikes me, and I am sent flying backwards. I recover and heal as I end up in blood flame that bursts my blood. Mohg dives down towards me in a slash that misses due to the range, and he lands next to me. I run up to him and he narrowly misses me with a swipe. I then dodge roll as he jumps into the air. I roll again and avoid as he brings his trident striking down. The explosion sends me flying as I come out of a roll. I sprint to Mohg and deliver a flurry of slashes, and he slashes me with his blood claws. The explosion sends me flying once more. He swipes his trident just above my prone body, narrowly missing me. I stand up and roll away to heal as Mohg prepares an attack. He brings his trident down and I dodge, then follow up with 4 slashes. Mohg claws, and I avoid the blood explosion. Mohg then leaps into the air and brings his trident down, which I roll under. I then slash him 4 times with my dagger, and he strikes me with his trident. I avoid the follow-up attack as he skewers the dirt and exit the range of the following explosion. I back into a blood flame puddle, and it makes my blood burst as Mohg sprints forward, spearing me in the chest. I go for a heal, and just as I do, Mohg slams my chest with his trident as he dives down, making my blood burst. Mohg then slashes up as he leaps into the air, and I roll to avoid. Mohg flies down and skewers me through the chest, sending me ragdolling backwards. He then shoves his hand into the air and pulls out liquid blood flame as I heal. I roll away as he splatters it across the field. He then charges towards me, trident held in front like a lance as he slams me, sliding across the ground. He leaps into the air, bringing his trident down like a massive hammer as I roll out of the way, barely avoiding the impact. Pouring the holy energy of faith into my weapon, it extends in length, allowing a stronger slash that stretches farther. Mohg backs away as I go for a follow-up stab. He slashes in an arc, and I roll underneath. He brings the slash back the other way, and I roll under that too. He then skewers me into the earth, and I roll avoiding the following explosion. I stand up and slash him as his trident makes contact with my face. He brings it around for another slam and strikes me across the back. My blood bursts as flame splatters across the ground. I heal as Mohg splatters more blood flame, striking me across the body. Rolling to try to put the flames out and dry on heals, I send a golden wave of energy striking into Mohg. This last hit stumbles Mohg, and he reaches to the sky as he turns to white dust. As Mohg disperses, a grace appears at the top of the stairs. War-torn and exhausted, I make my way to the grace and sit. When I rise, a knight in white garb is standing there. I speak with this knight, and they ask me if I was guided here by Miquella. They then say that they are named Leda, and they too were guided here by Miquella. Leda then says to touch the withered arm, and I will be transported to the realm of shadow, where Miquella the Kind now dwells. I turn to the withered arm, and as I start to approach it, my mind races with questions. What is the realm of shadow? Why would Miquella be there? Was Miquella banished to the shadow realm? Or was it his choice? What was Mohg's part in this plan? Did he even know this was possible? The fire tickles the back of my eyes as I think of the infinite questions I have about this place. Then, a thought caresses my brain. Maybe, just maybe, something in the shadow realm could cure the frenzied flame. Maybe Miquella could cure me. Or at least have a way to avoid the spread. We all know what they say about expectations, but I have to at least try. I then touch the withered arm, and the light fades.